Thing.
Oh, I think we're going.
Alright,
Yeah,
we should be
yeah.
good. Can I get you one of you guys confirm?
One viewer. Still says loading video.
Yeah, just loading video for me too.
Is it working?
I've got an ad, so I can't tell you.
Mine just says loading video. On Skype, though, it shows you as XSplit broadcaster. Please enable output to virtual camera.
Alright, if anybody's in chat, can you guys tell me if it's working?
There we go. Now it's working.
It's good?
Yep.
Alright. Just so everybody knows, do not update your XSplit. You update your XSplit, everything goes to all fucking hell. Stupid program. Alright, so welcome to Elder Scrolls Uncovered episode 13. 2 weeks since our last one. And I actually have to admit, my Saturday was very, very depressing without this. I had nothing to do. Kind of made me sad. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about the question of the week, which none of us are really big fans of. We're also going to be talking about the missing features of Elder Scrolls Online. Do the missing features remove the Elder Scrolls aspect? So let's start off and see who's here today. We have Guilo, also known as Gui.
Guess who?
We have Rapid.
Hello, friends.
And we have Altair.
Yo.
Yo. So let's start off and talk about the question of the week. So this week, they actually released a relatively decent question. They actually asked us what armor and weapons we want to use and why. At least this question is somewhat personal and not specifically lore-based and require me to go out and, do research. I don't like that. So let's start off with Gui. Gui, what weapons and armor are you going to be using and why?
As for specific types or models that were in past Elder Scrolls games or anything like that, I don't know. I'm hoping to play some kind of ranged archer type of character. So I want something that would blend in pretty well with the surroundings, is pretty concealing. So that way, if I want to hunt something, it's I'm not going to stand out and just look stupid. I also would love to use a bow that is customizable. By that, I mean the way that it looks. I don't want to have a static bow that matches the same thing everyone else has, like now in WoW, where you have one weapon for all two-handed DPS. It all looks the same. You have one weapon for all range. It all looks the same. And I want something customizable that fits my ranger type class very well.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And if they introduce transmog, I'm not playing. I don't want transmog. That's a cop out. All right, Rapid. What about you? What weapons and armor are you going to be using?
Well, I guess it kind of goes along with what my planned role is. I usually am a tank in most MMOs I play, so it'd probably be like a sword and shield or a mace and shield or something like that. But it will depend on basically what is the best that allows me to do the best tanking I can and be the best at my job. So I will be tailoring my weapons around min-maxing, basically.
So you're looking to be a tank sword and board, or you're going to try to tank it with two-hand? You're going to tank it with cloth armor? What are you looking at?
Whatever's best. If it turns out that tanking with a two-hander provides more mitigation, more threat, that'll be it. If it's sword and shield, that'll be it.
What if it's a battle goat?
If it's a battle goat, then that will be it.
Already started with the battle goat comments, eh?
Well, I got to start off light somehow today.
All right, Altair, what about you? What armor are you looking forward to wearing, and what weapons and why?
I will be heavy armor, sword and board tank, or cloth healer with a staff.
You're gonna be a cloth healer, eh?
Yep.
I don't know if I want to put my life in your hands, man.
Did you
Well, that's
see
your
that?
problem.
Did you guys see that one thing they were stating where, like, was it in the AMA where they were asking if you could, like, tank with cloth armor, and their question basically alluded to, or their answer basically alluded to, you can, but it may not be as good.
And what did you think of that? Like, I mean, I saw that and I read that and I was like, you want to be a cloth tank, but they kind of also said that as long as you pick your points properly, you'll be able to do it. So,
Oh, they didn't specifically state that. This is the kind of thing I brought away from it. Being in heavy armor will be the most reasonable course of action.
yes, definitely. Can you, either you or Gooey, pull that up and actually read it off?
Sure, I can read it. Generally, as a tank-oriented character, being in heavy armor will be the most reasonable course of action because it lends itself to absorbing damage and taking the big hits. However, if you choose to increase your health to the max and carefully choose your abilities, you could build a light armor character that would last a good long time on the front lines. The way they word it just seems to me that it's not optimal, which is, if it's not optimal, then you're hurting yourself if you do it.
It's interesting that they'd even make it sound feasible, though. Because, I mean, if you try to go into an instance and tank in WoW with cloth armor, you're dead. I mean, you'll take a couple hits because none of that has the right stats for dodge and parry or anything like that. So, I mean, if it's going to be interesting to see how the attributes are laid out differently among or through ESO than through the stats that we're used to seeing now.
Yeah, like I'm curious because when I read that, I was curious as to what they really mean by that. It kind of makes me wonder that the skill tree itself is going to be very in depth, and there's going to be many different choices that we can take. So, for example, maybe if you were going cloth armor, you'd want to increase your health, but also have I don't know, some form of like life steal. Whereas if you go heavy armor, you want to be able to parry or dodge more. You know what I mean? Just to have that damage mitigation.
That would make more sense. I mean, if a light armor or cloth armor would be able to dodge more than someone who's, say, wearing 50 pounds of armor.
What do you think, Alter? What do you think of the whole tank and cloth armor?
If they want to be a tank in cloth armor, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. They just have to, the stats have to be there. Obviously, cloth wearers are going to have to be stamina heavy, but I kind of agree with Gooey. I think cloth armor should have maybe more dodge capabilities as they're wearing lighter armor, which would make it easier to dodge attacks rather than someone wearing heavy armor who would be able to just eat the blow.
Yeah. I don't think any of you guys actually played Dark Age, right? Or did you?
I didn't.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Dark Age, they had a class called the Friar. I mean, it was a staff-wielding cloth tank, essentially, and all it did was dodge. I mean, that's kind of makes me think of how they're going to build those cloth tanks. So it's going to be interesting, that's for sure.
B was here in the chat, said that he thinks that maybe a tank could do more damage if they were wearing a lighter armor, like a light armor or a medium armor, and that'd be better for an off tank. And I actually agree with that. That's an interesting thought. Whereas if you're wearing heavy armor and you have that sword and that shield, and your whole purpose is to soak up the damage, then there's no reason that someone wearing, say, a medium leather armor or a light cloth armor wouldn't be able to dodge, parry, and actually do a decent bit of damage. That could be a really fun mix of the Holy Trinity, I guess you could say. Instead of tank, DPS, and heals, it could actually be a tank DPS. That would be fun, an off-tank DPS. That'd be something that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
Well, I had something like that in BC with when we first started with Karazhan. We had another warrior who was our off tank, but his primary spec was Fury, and he would just switch out his gear if he had to take on a tanking role for like a boss fight or something. But he did enough damage and had enough health switching out certain pieces of gear that he can stay in Fury stance and just sword and board and do enough damage. So that's something that we did in BC, so we could do that in Elder Scrolls if they gave us that option.
think a lot of it's going to probably depend upon the fight and just how effective they are. I mean, kind of, if you follow the WoW rating scene right now, druids aren't really a preferred tank because all their mitigation is through dodge, and so when they get hit, they're going to get hit harder. They don't, have a block and stuff like that. And it's a lot more preferable, even if you're taking more damage, to have it, slower, not as spiky. Because, I mean, with spiky damage, you can die more easily, I guess. So, I mean, I would love for them to balance it and have multiple tanking classes, but I hope they do a good job balancing it, so we're not in some situation where, it's like, alright, the cloth guy tank, dodge, 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 then he takes 2 hits and he dies,
Yeah, I think that'll be a big worry, is the fact that from the sounds of it, like, I mean, we're all speculating on exactly how these tanks are going to roll out, especially cloth wearers. But I mean, it all comes down to balancing. I mean, if you start an encounter, and it's easier if you have a cloth tank versus a heavy armor tank, strictly because of the dodge or whatever. You lose a little bit of the immersion if you require that specific class in order to do something. And not only that, it makes it a little bit harder on the raid that wants to do it. If they don't have it, it's going to be a lot more difficult. You know what I mean?
Have they said anything along the lines of, I think the way that Ghostcrawler put it with WoW was bring the player, not the class. Have they said anything about that and how they're planning on doing that in this?
Hopefully they don't do it like WoW.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the top end rating scene in WoW right now, raiders are expected to have like 5 alts just so they can take the class and class spec certain encounters. So yeah, I really hope the classes aren't as, polarizing, I guess, in the rating content.
I would love to see it where it could be more flexible, so that if a group came in with 1 solid tank, 1 DPS off tank, 5 pure DPS, and 1 DPS heals, and then 2 solid heals for like a 10-man group. I think that was 10, and might be 11 or 9, but you get what I'm saying. If you can bring a group like that as opposed to 2 tanks, 3 heals, and 5 DPS for a 10-man, that I would love that a lot more, because it would be a lot more flexible. It would be a lot more play. Figure out how to do it your way, kind of like what Guild Wars did with their dungeon system, where you could do it with all DPS, or you could suffer through with all heals. That makes it a lot more immersive and a lot more fun for the group.
Yeah, you had me up until the point you said Guild Wars. I'm not a big fan of the Guild Wars system. It is not fun for me. But I mean, I definitely want to hear your guys' input on this. I recently released a video regarding the Holy Trinity, and I want to know what you guys think of it. Do you guys want the tank heals DPS hybrid aspect, or do you want to be able to go in and do an encounter with all DPS or all healers? What do you guys want to see? Like, what's more immersion filled, or what's more fun?
I think people will always attempt to, maximize what they're doing. So if it's the best thing to try to bring in all DPS and work through the encounter that way, people do that. But for me, I don't know. I like the trinity of classes. I think there's people out there who enjoy healing. I know I enjoy being a tank. I think it's more fun because even though I may not be doing like as much stuff in game, I can kind of get an overview of everything that's going on. So for me, it's a little bit different. But I don't know. The Trinity I don't think it's a bad thing. A lot of people view it as bad, but I would like Elder Scrolls, I guess, to still have it, but maybe have a loose Trinity, I guess.
I would definitely agree. Holy Trinity, I think it needs to be there. You need those defined roles, people who are dedicated to doing this and doing that and such, because like Rapid was saying, I prefer either tanking or healing for the most part. And if that's what you've been doing for a long while, you're used to it, you're familiar with how the class plays and stuff like that. You don't have to jump between roles and be completely unfamiliar with something just because we needed to switch up something for this boss. So Um, I mean, that I've been tanking for like 6 years, 7 years now. I've healed for a few years. That's what I'm familiar with. I prefer to stick that way and have that dedicated role as something for me to do rather than having to wonder, okay, for this fight, am I going to have to tank? For this fight, am I going to have to heal? For this fight, am I going to have to DPS? I'd rather know, okay, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to practice on, and this is what I'm going to perfect.
What about you, Guy?
I I agree that the Trinity is a good thing. I agree that the structure is good, the learning a role is good, but it's old. It's the same thing that we've had for a long time, and I'd like to see a mix, a hybrid type class system. I mean, obviously, there's still going to be dedicated tanks, there's still going to be dedicated healers, there's still going to be dedicated DPS. But if you can find a way, if you know your character well enough and can play your character well enough that you can tank and do a little bit of DPS on the side, more so than if you're just tanking and auto attacking and doing your threat generating abilities, then allow us to do that. If you're heals but you're only needed for a couple parts of the fight and you can blow the boss up for the rest of it, then let us be hybrid. If you are good enough at your class and you know your class well enough to do it, then there's no reason they shouldn't, instead of making it the same old thing over and over again where you're just spamming heals, over healing everyone, being bored.
Yeah. The Trinity as a whole, I think you're right. I think it is old. And I think it definitely needs improvement, but I think it has to be in the game. For example, Guild Wars 2, where anybody can just go in and just do it how they want, there's no camaraderie. I mean, anybody, when you go into a group, a 5-man, maybe it's 4-man in that game. I think it's 4. I don't remember. You go in, but you're not going in as a group. You're going in as yourself to finish it and get whatever the hell loot you want. There's no healing in that game. Isn't fun. I played the healer, like I played Elementalist healer. You can heal, but you can't heal specific people. So you healing really isn't benefiting the group as a whole. Yes, you're damaging the mobs, but you're not healing an individual person that needs help. So I think you were right where, Gooey, you were right when you said that they need an adaptation of it. Maybe throw that hybrid in there. I think it was B was here that was saying, if the tank dies, someone else that's not a tank, but is slightly spec'd into being a tank, to go in and replace him. That way you're not just going to wipe up the group if one person dies. Having that backup, I think, is a really good idea. Almerish, you're not being forgotten. Alright, you're being forgotten, I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's alright.
So, Almerish, what do you think? What do you think about the Holy Trinity?
I personally feel like it needs to be in the game, but I feel like the borders of the Trinity need to overlap each other so that heal, like if they spec into some tanking so that they can take some damage, so that if a mob just all of a sudden starts attacking the healer, it's not just like he's getting destroyed or anything. But I do believe the Trinity should be in the game, but I believe it should overlap each other. The roles should overlap.
Alright, yeah, no, I agree. Here's a question, though. World of Warcraft introduced I believe it's called scenarios, where you can take 3 DPS and be able to go do something. I mean, the objective is to actually finish it while with these DPS. What do you guys think of that? Do you think that's a positive aspect?
After having done the scenarios, they're garbage. I mean, they were a cool idea at first, but there's no challenge, there's no substance, they don't do anything relevant to the story. And I mean, you can literally do it with any mix of stuff. I don't know if I really like it. I do maybe 1 or 2 a week. It's an extra way for them to give us valor. It wasn't some grand experiment in messing with the Holy Trinity. It wasn't anything like that. It was just, oh hey, we need something new and fresh with this expansion. What can we throw at you?
What about you, Rabbit or Alter? I don't know if
Is
either
that-
one of you guys still play WoW.
Is that the 3-man, what is it, challenge modes?
Yes.
Yeah, I've done those. I don't know, they just seemed boring to me. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot to it. It was just like, oh, here's another thing you have to do to get Valor. Personally, I like the dungeons more than that.
The way that they introduced it, with adding it as the Theramore scenario, which bridged the gap between Cataclysm and Pandaria, was really good. It told an amazing story, and you weren't really there to be challenged. You were there to hear the story and be able to take part in what was going on. And they did that a little bit with 5.1's PvP Area Edition. If they do that with the intent of having a story being pushed by it, and not being a challenge necessarily, then yeah, that changes it. It was good in that sense. But if they try to push it as this is the way we want the game to be, where you can be anything, like 3 DPS or 3 heals or 3 tanks and go in and do something, then that just kills it. Why bother making the designation?
I haven't played WoW since the beginning of Cataclysm, so I'm not aware of anything that's going on in WoW. So
Lucky you. I didn't say that aloud, did I?
Yes, you did.
Oh,
Nope.
oops. What about you, Amish? Do you play World of Warcraft at all?
I just recently stepped my foot back into that mud puddle, but I haven't played any of the scenario stuff. I got back because real life friends keep on asking me to, and then people over here kept on asking me to, but I honestly have not stepped foot into scenarios, so I have no idea what that's all about.
So, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to phrase this. Gui, you're totally against them. Do you think there's any way a version of that would work with Elder Scrolls?
If it was purely for the sense of storytelling and lore, and making it so it deepens the character, then I would say yes. Like with what SWTOR did, where you had class quests that only your class was a part of, but you could bring other people in. That it was purely for the intent of storytelling. If they did something like that with Tesso, where it was like you and another person from your faction did it to learn your faction's story, it didn't really matter what role you played as long as you functioned together and you worked together to learn the story, to learn more. I would think that would work.
What about you, Rapid or Altair or Amish? What do you guys think?
I believe if it's like story based, like a scenario that explains, let's just say, for the Evanhart Pact, how they all met and whatnot, like how they did break out into battle or whatnot, just something where like you look at the beginning point or some transition point within the storyline and you learn the lore behind that.
So, both of you guys think that maybe an aspect of that would work if it was telling a side story or part of the main story?
I think, I mean, you could implement it either way. I just think it needs to be meaningful, and make people want to do it, like offer rewards and stuff for doing it, I don't know. It just seems like they just like put something in there, like here's some more story, but didn't have it on like a clear progression path, that it might have kind of be forgotten, I guess.
Okay. On the topic of progression, they released an Ask Us Anything last week. Probably one of the best Ask Us Anythings that I've ever read in regards to Elder Scrolls Online. There was a lot of actual in-game information. One of them being the tank, being pure healers. Was there anything that you guys pulled away from that really stood out? I think Rapid's pulling it up.
Yeah, I am. I liked this one a lot better than other ones I've seen. It feels like it has a lot more content, I guess. Like a lot more stuff that means things to me. Yeah, the thing that got me was, them talking about the armor system, I guess. The other stuff was kind of stuff I already knew or stuff I didn't really care about.
What about the armor system? Anything in particular?
We've gone over it pretty hard, but
Just the tanking and cloth and stuff like that?
just that, yeah. I want them to make a game that has a lot of options and stuff, but if they're going to intend for people in cloth and stuff to be able to tank, then there needs to be like clear, viable builds that are equal in damage and survivability and threat to the main ones. You know, I'd hate it for people who are saying like, "All right, yeah, I'm gonna be my mage tank, have mage armor, and be able to tank," you know, and then not be able to do it as well as a warrior. I think that would blow for them. Um, you know, it's just as long as they implement it, I just want it to be fair for everybody and balanced, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the biggest issue, is making sure it's balanced. One, within your faction, and two, among the other two factions, right? The other two.
Right, right.
One of the other things I want to touch on before we start talking about the missing features is the... I totally just forgot. Oh, the beta questions that they released. How excited were you guys to find out that they released a little bit of information about the beta, but then got saddened because it's only going to be on weekends?
I kind of expected the weekend thing. They already said before that there was going to be targeted beta things where they're focusing on specific things. Obviously, that has to be in some format where it's just like a section of time. So I expected there to be just like beta weekends. I'm a little bummed out that they didn't make any clarification on whether or not, you know, like, all right, this wave of people, and you're testing the beta, and then, all right, we're done. Now, clear all them out and do another one. Like, are there going to be, like, permanent beta testers for all the events, or is it going to be new people every time?
They said that just because you get invited to one event doesn't mean that you're going to get invited to others. It's going to be a by-event basis.
Yeah, I hope they have people who are kind of permanent beta testers. Didn't they? I mean, sometimes didn't they do that in Star Wars, where they had like you're like a closed beta tester, and then they had weekends as well. Basically, if you pre-ordered, you could get in the the group that's all the time, and if you weren't, then you would just be in whatever open beta weekend there was.
I don't remember, to be honest with you. I know I bought the game, so I was in the beta for every beta event. So I don't know if they actually had specific class or specific closed beta testers. But I'm on the same boat as you. I really hope they do have dedicated testers that are able to test the game as much as they want during these events and every other event, only because then they have the experience already. Whereas if you bring in a new tester, one, they're going to be super excited. They're not actually going to be doing the event. Whereas if you take somebody who's already done the game, or at least been in the game, that nostalgic value of the game has worn off, right? So they'll be able to actually dive into the game, play it a lot better. Because we all know, I mean, we all get into a new game, we're like, holy crap, it's an awesome game, holy fucking, and two hours later, like, yeah, it's just a game.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think they'd be better with a system that like a requirement system even. Like, it sounds bad, but like have it so there's like your permanent beta tester, and then all right, this thing we're testing this area of the game, and if you don't submit bug reports and give your opinion on say they're questing, like if you don't do a certain number of quest submissions on how well the quest is, then maybe they'd knock you out of there. Some way to keep people who are playing the game and, like you said, don't have that like wow factor, I guess, from getting in there first time. It's like, what if you do an entire new group of people and you're like, all right, let's test in-game raid content, and these people are like brand new and don't even know the mechanics? It's going to be kind of weird.
What do you think, Goo? You're over there nodding your head.
I was just agreeing with what he was saying about how if you have a rotating group of people and you get a bunch of new people who don't know the mechanics and come and do raids, it just doesn't make sense. They'd be wasting their own time.
What do you think, Almers?
I believe there is going to be something along the line of permanent beta testers, because, I mean, they're probably going to pick them on, like, this person has been in, like, 40 betas, they went to those 40 betas, look at them, and ask them for information, etc., or something like that, and they figured out this is a really good beta tester. And they'll probably have those select few beta testers that are really good, and they just keep around because they give back good feedback.
What do you think, Altair, who's staring at the screen and wants to kill someone?
I agree with just about everything everybody has said so far. While it's good to have the beta testers that come in on weekends and test certain events, you need the dedicated people who test all aspects of the game. Because after, like you said, that wow factor, they just play the game as normal, and they'll have a decent understanding of the mechanics and can actually report proper bugs or exploits or something like that because played the game, they understand the mechanics, and they don't see this thing and go ooh shiny and completely forget about what they're doing in the beta. So they need those groups of dedicated testers to ensure that everything goes as planned and that they actually test the features of the game completely rather than just 2 hours in this event, okay, no problems, whatever. So, you know what I mean?
No, I agree. I mean, I think we're all on the same page that we all want some form of dedicated tester. And I'm pretty sure I can say that we all want to be that dedicated tester. All right, so I mean that's pretty much all the information that was released within the last week and a half. So let's discuss the reason most people are here. And either Gooey's going to stop being my friend after this conversation, or he's just going to leave me and never see me again.
Hey, Rapid.
Yes.
If I stop being Garb's friend, can I join Midnight Reveries?
Sure.
Yeah.
Better watch your words careful, Garb.
I'm not worried. It's not competition for me anyways. So the reason I say that we might not be friends is because this is a pretty heated topic for myself, for Gooey, and for probably most people in the chat. Almers, I think you're on the fence about the hands and stuff like that. So let's talk about that. In the last month and a half, there's been a huge nerd rage regarding no hands. You zoom in first person, and there's, oh my god, no hands. I cannot see my hands. This is a big issue. Where do you guys stand on this? And we'll talk from there. Let's start off with Rapid. Rapid, what do you think about this this no hands? I'm going to save Gooey for the end, just so you know.
First person's kind of stupid, to be honest. Like in an MMO. I mean, if you have the option of being in third person, like, it's better for gameplay. And I mean, you're going to be screwing yourself if you're in first person. I'm sure everyone's heard the arguments. You know, if you're in PvP and there's a rogue coming up behind you, like, you have a lot better chance of seeing them if you're in third person. Or if, you know, if the dragon's spitting fire on the ground in an arc or something, you might be kind of screwed if you're in first person. That being said, like, if it's in-game, then great. I mean, people can enjoy it if they want to, even though they might be, I guess, you know, gimping themselves. But, you know, if it isn't, then I don't think people should worry about it. It's not a big deal. It seems kind of inferior anyway. On the issue of it, you know, I've seen the game. If there's hands, great. If there's not hands, you know, great. I'll go either way on this issue. You know, it's not that important to me, I guess.
Now, what about you, Altair? What do you think? Topic of no hands.
I'm a long Elder Scrolls fan. I usually play the Elder Scrolls games in first person. I'm against the idea of not having hands. That would definitely feel weird and doesn't feel Elder Scrollish whatsoever. But I mean, I kind of do agree with Rapid that there are a lot of scenarios in MMOs where first person is not necessarily the best option, but you should still have that option nonetheless. If you want to play in first person, with you should be able to, and it should be the full-fledged features, hands, and everything. I mean, I've always played first person in Elder Scrolls, so I mean, it should be a person's choice whether they play it or not, and if they play it in a PvP aspect and they get owned by some stealth guy, well, that's their own problem. You know what I mean? So I'm against the idea of not having any hands.
All right. I just asked Glandic to pop in here because I know he's a pretty avid player for Elder Scrolls, and I'm pretty sure he's also a nerd rager regarding the hands issue. So, Glennick, I want to know your input. What is your input of the no hands in first-person view?
I mean, it's different. It's something that's very hard just because we're going to compare it to other MMOs, but assuming they make the game with the way we want it, we can't. It's different. So it upsets me because that is the way I always preferred to play that game style.
Yeah, I'm the same way as Glenn. I mean, if it's not there, fine, whatever. I can deal. I mean, it is an MMO. I'm still going to play the majority of the game in third person because it's an MMO and I have to worry about other people in the game and not just myself and NPCs. But it would still be nice to have that option if I want from time to time to be able to go into that first person mode with hands.
What about you, Almerish? How do you stand on this issue?
I'm upset that there's no hands. I predominantly play Elder Scrolls in first person because I'm an avid bow user. Because I honestly, when I'm in third person and shooting a bow, it is hard for me to judge the distance of my drop of my arrow in the game. However, with this MMO, that might not be a problem with it, so I could deal with it, but I would prefer if I go first person to at least maybe see my weapon.
Okay, I can understand that. Now, you guys have all said that you're for it or against it. I want to know why. Why are you for it? Why are you against it? Personally, I'm against it just because I personally don't see a value in it. Rapid said, I mean, you see more in third person than you ever would in first person, but I'm not a big Elder Scrolls single player fan. I'm an MMO fan, so my aspect of it is not. I've never played the game in first person. I've always played Skyrim and Oblivion in third person, and like I said, I've never beat the games, so I'm not that far into them. But I want to know, like, why do people want the first person with hands? Is it strictly just because immersion? Like, what is it?
I think personally, in my opinion, it has to do with gameplay style and with depth of perception. I mean, when you talk about any other MMO, you just choose your target, you run towards it until your sword starts swinging, until the game's not yelling at you, or the buttons light up to tell you that you're in range. You know, you have all that stuff, but that's not how this game is supposed to work, at least not by what they're telling us. I mean, I always use first person so that I can see how close I actually am to my target and actually get the right depth perception and know that I'm standing in the right spots.
I think you skipped GUI, Garbrac.
I did. I know.
On purpose? Why would you do such a thing?
Because look at his face.
Poor Gooey.
No, he's kind of excited I skipped him.
Why?
Because then we won't argue. See? All right, Gooey. I want to hear what you have to say. Why do you want first person? Why do you want hands? I really want to know.
Well,
Because of the immersion. It takes so much out of it. When you're playing something that the series has been built on the fact that you are your character, the decisions you make from that, for everything you do, shapes around how the game turns out. Being able to see that from first-person perspective makes it a lot more real. Being able to aim with your bow, aim down it, and see where you're going, it makes it more real. To be able to see the spells casting in your hand and then fly out, it makes it more real. For them to say, well, it's just not something that you really need, bullcrap. If I'm paying for the game and I'm paying for the subscription and I'm paying for you to make this, don't tell me what I need. I'll tell you what I need as a paying customer, and I'm telling you what I want. For them to say that this is an Elder Scrolls game and then to gut it from some of the most defining features, such as pickpocketing and the hands in first person. I mean, sure, they're small things. They're small things, but it's bigger than that. I mean, and for people who say it's just an Elder Scrolls game, but it's an MMO first, then why call it Elder Scrolls if you're going to take everything from it but minus the map that makes it Elder Scrolls?
Well, let me get this for you, okay? Let's time travel for a little bit.
Oh,
Let's turn back the clock to 2004, right? So we've got this awesome series called.
You got to do the box sound. Come on.
No, my gosh. I think we break enough copyright infringements as it is.
So in 2004, World of Warcraft's coming out. World of Warcraft's nothing like Warcraft 3. Oh man, that's breaking the series for me. The series was built on being an RTS. There's no way an MMO can work. It's gonna fuck everything up.
But that's two totally different game types.
Yeah,
to go from an RTS to
these
an
are
MMO.
these are two totally different game types.
No,
This is
they're
a
not.
single-player RPG turning into an MMO.
It's an
Completely
action RPG
different.
turning into
How
an
is
MMO.
that-
RPG.
Yeah, but how is that any? It's so much less of a change. Yes, multiplayer changes a lot, especially massively multiplayer. Yes, it does. But you're talking about going from a bird's eye view RTS. Oh wow, yes, you could zoom in. Not even going to count that in Warcraft 3. A bird's eye view RTS with a very little bit of RPG mixed in. Not bringing up custom games here either, because those weren't Blizzard's ideas. But, I mean, basically, they created an MMORPG around Warcraft's world in that sense.
Well,
Warcraft 3's gameplay, other than just the prettinesses, the class names, and some spell names, was about the only thing that they moved into the MMO.
No, just before anybody stops on this, I have to chime in here. First, let's talk about the Warcraft and the World of Warcraft. It's called World of Warcraft because the lore. They took the lore from Warcraft and dropped you into it. It's called Elder Scrolls Online because they took the lore of Elder Scrolls and dropped you into the world. They didn't take the aspects of the game. They took the lore. That's all that's there is the lore.
Okay, fine. If they said, you know what, we're gonna create an Elder Scrolls MMO, then I would have been like, okay, we'll see how it goes. But that's not what they did. That's not what they did. What they did is they promised, we are going to make your Elder Scrolls game that you are used to online. They have said that. And that's what bothers me about it the most.
Yeah, like he was saying, if they said that, I'd be okay with it. But they did say that this was going to be Elder Scrolls with what we're used to, and like everyone's been saying, this is not a real-time strategy going to an MMO. This is a first-person RPG going to an MMO RPG. So it's the same similar type of gameplay because it's a RPG just thrown in with a million other people. So what they said and what they're doing at this point are two different things.
And I forget which developer said it, but one of the developers said, and he quoted, "This is an Elder Scrolls game first."
Yeah,
that could be looked at so many different ways, though.
It can, but I damn it, Glenn, I hate you.
Why'd you bring me up here?
Alright, I mean,
it was said that it is an Elder Scrolls game first. It has been quoted by developers. It is Skyrim, but online. And because of that, I think they've shot themselves in the foot with missing certain features. But I'm still standing on the fact it's called Elder Scrolls Online strictly because of lore. There's no ghost behind you. Calm down.
You can't make an MMO take all those features. I'm sorry, it's just not going to be successful. Like, you have to blend the two. I mean, like, I think you guys should be excited that we're getting an Elder Scrolls MMO. I don't think you should be getting upset that it's not going to be, Skyrim Online. Like, I know I've said this before, and I hate to, be repeating myself, but Skyrim Online would not be successful. In the short term, it would, but it won't be, like, WoW successful, which I think is what everybody's hoping Tesla will be.
I agree. I agree with that 100%. And I guess, the topics we're talking about are somewhat small. I know I came late, so I don't even know if you guys have... Did you touch on marriage at all tonight?
No, not yet. That's coming up. We're
Okay,
talking about the
alright.
hands issue.
So,
and-
I know, I just was thinking about, because I was going to cover everything at once, but basically, of the 3 subjects we're talking about, the last one's my least concern, but this one I think it's a small enough and big enough issue that why just not include it? What was the big deal in not putting it in? That's my concern. Like, was there some really major programming architectural issue with building this game that you just can't have hands? That's my only beef with it.
The argument that I've heard for that is that you would have to redo all the modeling for it, which doesn't make sense to me because they're already going to have the models be very detailed. That's just the way any Elder Scrolls game is. There's more detail in that than anything you've ever seen. For them to say, well, we can't make it so it zooms in and you see that detail better inside of a hand, laziness. That's a bad excuse.
How are they going to do this though? With like, all right, say magically they have hands in the game. Like, if I'm using a sword and shield, like, how am I going to cast spells like in first person? Like,
the same way that they did it in Skyrim, where
you have to equip a spell in Skyrim, though, don't you?
Well, I mean that could be different. I mean, I'm just talking about looks. I mean, I'm not talking about that. I mean, I'm just talking about looks. I mean, they did so well in the first-person games, at least, and yes, it is a different developer. They've done so good in the first-person games of just you're literally just zooming in onto your character and just seeing your hands at that point. And if they're pulling any models from the older games, which it almost sounds like they were, what's wrong with pulling that system out? I don't know.
What worries
I'm not a programmer.
What worries me with the way that they're approaching it and the way that they're coming out and saying, well, we're not going to have this feature, we're not going to have this feature, we're not going to have this feature, is that it seems like ZeniMax was building a generic MMO, a very generic MMO, and they happen to fall into the Elder Scrolls licensing, and now they're making a very generic MMO with a different combat system around the Elder Scrolls War.
Well,
It's just going to be another WoW clone failing with an MMO if that's what they do. If they just slap another map on the MMO system that already works, then it's going to be nothing new. If it's going to be the Elder Scrolls Online, then it's going to be something truly innovative. And they're wasting away by getting rid of some of those things that can make it very different.
Well, from what I know, and Kurth will know, so correct me if I'm wrong, from what I knew about this was actually it was more Bethesda who sought out ZeniMax to work on this game while they continued working on single players. In that case, what I'm just hoping is ZeniMax is just going to Bethesda every now and then saying, look, we're going to have to change this for the game to be online, which is fine. But at that same time, this list, though, is short. It is very, very early, and I'm just fearful as how long this list might get as far as things they're going to have to pull out.
Yeah,
That's my biggest concern too. Is that by the time that the game is done, it's not going to look anything like an Elder Scrolls game.
well, I'll argue that because I mean, it's still Elder Scrolls. The lore, the history, everything's there. The towns are familiar to everything everyone's used to. But Glenn, you're right. Bethesda, I believe Bethesda actually fully owns ZeniMax, and it's a sister company to Bethesda, and they contracted them to do the game so they can continue to do their single player games. But let's go back and talk about Gooey's comment about how they're going to have to remake models. Not only will they have to remake models, they would have to make brand new animations, because you gotta remember, in the first person view, you're holding your weapon right up against the screen, and what, you trying to ignore me?
No, it's just my headset. Sorry.
So you're holding the weapon right up against the screen, so the quality of the graphic has to be much better. If, for example, the animation is a spin, how are you going to incorporate that into a first person, whereas when you do it in a third person view, all you're really doing is dropping the sword a little bit and spinning the character. So in a first person view, you'd have to completely revamp that whole animation in order to make it look similar to the third person, and on top of that, still be able to scroll out at whenever you want. In the middle of that animation, you have to be able to scroll out and still see the exact same flow. It's a lot of work.
What the question that I have for you though or the comment that I have for you. I don't know if it's going to end up as a question,
Just put a
but
question mark at the end.
I know from conversations that we've had that the reason that you don't like WoW, the reason that you don't like all the other MMOs that you've gone through time, minus the Dark Age, is because it's more of the same. For you to say that they can't do it, I think is just incorrect.
I never
They
said they
can
can't.
do it. Okay, forgive me then. I
just say it's a lot of work.
But if they put that work into it, it will be something truly different, and it'll shake the MMO world. But if they just get lazy and do the same exact thing that they already have, then it's not gonna. One of the reasons that WoW was so good is because it took major steps in advancing the MMO genre. If Elder Scrolls stays stagnant with what WoW has already at that bar that WoW has already set, and just tweaks the combat system a little bit and doesn't add more in the terms of animations or in the terms of depth of game, then it's just going to be the same thing, and we're not going to get anything good out of it. We're going to go into it with a bunch of hype and think, all right, this is going to be great. There's a great story behind it. There's a great amount of lore behind it, and it's going to be another SWTOR.
All right.
All right, let me make a statement here.
All right,
I think you guys look at WoW the wrong way. So, yeah, there's a lot of people disgruntled with WoW, don't like it, especially, people looking forward to a new MMO, of course. I mean, WoW is super freaking successful, like, so much more than anything else. Why wouldn't you try to emulate those things that work, Like, I understand you want them to completely reinvent the genre, but I look at companies that have tried to do that, like, it just ends up going terribly, and they're going free to play in 6 months or whatever. I mean, you have to follow some of that formula. You can be innovative on a lot of different levels, but if you want to get that WoW success, then yeah, you need to copy some of those things in WoW that make it successful. Just because we don't like certain aspects of the game doesn't mean those aren't good aspects,
Yeah.
I agree with that, and it's essentially what WoW did to EverQuest. They improved on that design. But just back to the hands thing again really quick. I guess and I unfortunately haven't had the chance to read into this was my fault, but I guess the biggest general response from ZeniMax, correct me if I'm wrong, about people complaining about no hands is they are saying that it's going to be a lot of work to go back and change it. Okay, what I want as a future player, as a consumer, or whatever you want to call me, is I want a reason as to why you didn't put them in the first place instead of why you don't want to go back and put it in. Why wasn't it first put in? If I have a better response to that, then I might be happy. But if my response is going to be, oh, it's going to be a lot of work to go back and do it, it's like, I don't care about going back. Why wasn't it done from step one?
Mm-hmm. Just a second, Greg.
Okay.
I want to comment on a few things that have been said in chat, and I want to comment on what Rapid was saying. First, I want to jump in. I kind of want to slap you right now, Gooey. We haven't been stagnant for 8 years. SWTOR, as horrible as the game it was, me and you both agreed when the game came out, they took features from WoW and improved on them. The game itself as a whole is good. However, there's aspects of the game that complete shit and ruin the entire game. So let's not even talk about SWTOR because I'll get really angry about that. Who was it? I believe it was Tip Music. Tip Music made an excellent comment, and it's one that I've mentioned to you before, Gooey. When you were introduced to Elder Scrolls Online, more than likely it was either from a screenshot, it was from a friend, it was from reading an article, it was from something like that. You didn't just pick up the game and say, hey, you know what, I want to try this. Maybe you did. It's possible. But when I was introduced to it, my friend said, hey, you need to try this game. The story on it's great. The graphics are phenomenal. They never once told me that, hey, you know what, there's hands. Oh my God, there's hands. You can play with hands. That was never brought up. I mean, it's a great aspect to the game, don't get me wrong. I think it's a phenomenal game, and now Elder Scrolls, the players, they're attached to it. It's a feature that they know. But as a new player going into the Elder Scrolls genre, they don't know that. What they know is the game has an incredibly immersive lore. It's free play. You can go wherever you want. The graphics on it are phenomenal. And then when they start playing, they're like, holy crap, I can play with hands! Oh my God!
Alright, well here, let me put it this way for you, Kurth, on that note. In WoW, or SWTOR, or any other MMO, Guild Wars, or whatever like that, if you run up to a guy in first person where you see nothing because you're in first person and you hit a button to attack, you knew you attacked because your action bar changed because of sound, yes, but mainly the action bar changed. You know that you attacked. In this game, assuming that they are correct, if you click your mouse, there's no global cooldown that triggers. You don't see a sword swing. You might hear a sound. How do you know you hit him? How do you know that your aim's correct? How do you know you're not at just that wrong angle that your sword is missing him? That, I think, is my biggest concern, and I really only thought of it now, but, I mean, I think with this game style, you need the visual. Like, you will literally be running up blind in melee, in first person, swinging nothing if you don't have the hands in the weapon.
But you have a reticle on your screen. That's like saying you can't play a first-person shooter without having your hand there. You can, as long as the reticle's there.
It's not the same, though. And you know that.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to just say that, but I really just think it's just different.
Go ahead, Goo. You got something. I can see it stirring in your head.
In response to what Rapid said about how if you want to emulate WoW, or if you want to get WoW results, you have to emulate WoW. Garb showed me a stream the other day with an interview from Mark Jacobs, I believe is his name, one of the lead designers for Dark Age of Camelot and Camelot Unchained, the new game Camelot Unchained. One of the things that he made a point of saying in this stream is that if you want to emulate WoW success, you can't emulate WoW, because no one will ever reach WoW success except for WoW, because WoW did it. If you want to beat WoW at its game, you've got to change it. You can't stay the same.
Yeah, but in Rapid's defense, he doesn't mean to do a direct
I can
copy.
defend myself.
Sorry.
In my defense, I mean, like, you can do it better than WoW. You can take aspects that are, quote unquote WoW, and you can do it better, and you will pull people from that WoW fan base. Which, let's be honest, the WoW fan base is like 95% of the MMO community or some shit. So, I mean, like, if you're talking about making a good MMO, the people who are going to be playing that game are going to be WoW players. Like, I'm sorry. Like, yeah, you might pull some people from EVE Online, but I'm pretty sure they're happy with what they're doing. You might pull some people from, Terra or whatever, but, those are people playing those games because they are niche games. WoW right now just has such a grip on the market, and saying that if you completely do something, like, different and try to be really innovative, I think that's just it's gonna fail. Like, I'm not saying don't be a WoW clone, don't emulate WoW, but you have to think about that aspect. Just because Tesso isn't going to follow WoW to the T doesn't mean it can't be successful either.
Well, but what WoW clone has been successful?
None of them have, because
Exactly.
they haven't copied
It has
WoW.
to be different. It has to be different.
You cannot do that. You cannot compare a game to WoW. Nobody is ever going to be WoW successful. WoW hit some form of niche market and skyrocketed. There is not going to be a game in the world that is going to do that. That was a one-time thing, and I mean, a game to hit over 15 million subscribers is just, it's not going to happen. I'm going to bet money on it. It will not happen again. So when
WoW was launched, there was just some light from the heavens, and there were angels singing, and it was like, oh,
there was.
Take my money.
But it wasn't when WoW launched. It wasn't when they launched. That took a while for them to build
WoW
up
was
to
pretty
where
big
they
at
were.
launch, but no, it wasn't
So,
15 million.
are you saying we're just, like,
I want someone to
completely
define
fucked?
successful first. Gooey, you said, did another MMO or another WoW clone become successful? Define successful. Rift is huge right now, and it is a WoW. It's a WoW mirror. It's exactly WoW.
But it's a
Just
WoW mirror
different
with
lore.
new features that WoW is ignoring.
It's still a WoW clone, and it's successful.
Well, what features? Other than the talent system, which WoW is...
Housing.
The housing.
I
I mean,
didn't know
there is
they put
definitely
housing
different
in.
features to it, but it's still a WoW clone, and from itself, it's a WoW clone.
It is, but they are more innovative.
Did you play Rift?
I played it when it launched. I don't remember my account info or anything like that. And that was one of the reasons I didn't stick with it, was because, well, if I'm just going to play another version of WoW with a different skin, then I might as well go back to WoW since I've already put years of my life into it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I had a similar thought. But anyways, they have very good developers that are listening to people and are very innovative, yes. But you have to admit, especially at launch, you're like, wow,
All right.
wow. But
That's
yeah,
that's part of what I'm worried about with Tesso is that they won't listen to what people want. Because I mean, you have two groups of people that are playing Tesso, from what I can tell. The hardcore MMO players who could give one crap less about hands, pickpocketing, anything like that. They want the in-game content. They want that to run smoothly. And then you have the other half, which and it's probably not halves, but you know what I mean, where it's all about Tesso or it's all about the Elder Scrolls. If they aren't listening to both, it's just they're gonna if they try to spread themselves too thin, then it's just not gonna work.
All right, so we've had two people completely quiet during this whole conversation. I want to hear from Altair and I want to hear from Almerish. I mean, neither one of them has said a peep about any of these topics, and I have a feeling one of them is going to spark some form of nerd rage against one of us. Altair, what do you got?
I personally, I agree with Gooey for the most part in just about everything that he said.
You're no longer my friend.
Well, then you're no longer going to PAX East with me.
Oh, sad face. All right, you're my friend. I love
Can I
you.
have his ticket?
Yeah, Gooey, you can have his ticket when I get it next week.
Then you're paying for the whole hotel and the fuel and... Anyways, go ahead.
Those are already paid for by me, but I agree with the most part on what Gooey said in just about everything. I mean, there's really not much more for me to say. Gooey pretty much covered everything that I was going to say myself.
All right, what do you got, Almerish?
Well, I've been wanting to make this comment for a while, but y'all been raging back and forth, so I haven't really got the chance. There isn't that much of Elder Scrolls lore going into the Elder Scrolls game, because it's set in a time period where there is relatively no lore. I would say only about an eighth of the current lore is relevant to the time period of Elder Scrolls, and that's only because of previous lore before this time period. And also, I have played many MMOs where they have taken features from WoW and I can see it clearly, and it just disattracts me because there's many features from WoW that I don't like and they take those features.
Well, now that you said that, as far as the features from WoW, I will agree that you do have to have, with WoW kind of setting the MMO standard nowadays, you have to include certain features that WoW has implemented, though I don't think it should be an exact clone of certain features. Like, to hit on SOTOR, I think they did a great job with... Personally, I really liked their crafting system. It could have been better, but I thought their crafting system was great. They had you could send companions out to find stuff, and they did all the crafting for you while you ran around and did all your missions and whatnot. It could have been improved, but that was something similar that they took from WoW and then reinvented it. If you take something from WoW, I think you should reinvent it and make it work better for your game than just using what was used from WoW. Because regardless, people are still going to play the game if they're interested in the game and in the lore. And Almerish is right to a degree. There is not a whole lot of lore 1,000 years before the games that are single player, but there is still lore there, and that they're gonna grow and build upon and stuff like that. So I mean, yeah.
Yeah, like, I'll agree to an extent. I mean, yes, there's not going to be any current lore that we know about put into the game, but the Elder Scrolls lore doesn't stop there. I mean, all the city names all have their own history to them. Like, all that aspect still plays into the game. But, I mean, B was here, makes a great argument. If there's no hands in the game, are you still going to play? I'm pretty sure every one of us is going to say yes.
Of course.
I'll say what I said in the chat. If they say that they'll implement it later, along with the other stuff that they might end up removing from that are Elder Scrolls niches, then yeah, I'll play. But if they say that they're not going to do it at all, they just ignore it, then I'll take my money elsewhere, because they can't ignore a big part of the fan base like that and get away with it.
What about you, Glenn?
You put that so funny. You can't get away with it.
Screw you.
But no, I will play. It's an adjustment. It'll definitely bug the crap out of me. That is just straight truth. But I will play.
See, and I think that's the biggest issue, is the game itself, Elder Scrolls, as a whole, is a single-player game. It has... I'm just going to throw a number. I'm pretty sure there's over 2 million fan base, at least. I mean, there's over 1 million on Facebook. We already know that. But people have become accustomed to the single-player game, the single-player features, and to take the game and drop it into an MMO, and having that one aspect removed, I think that's where it's all coming from, is the fact that it's change. I personally hate change. Like, I'm pretty sure every one of you guys can agree. Anytime something changes, I freak out. I think that's where a lot of the nerd rage is coming from. Is just like you said, Glenn. It's going to annoy you, but you'll still play the game. Why are you going to play the game? Is it just because it's an MMO, you want to try something new, or are you going to play it because it's Elder Scrolls?
Nah, a little column A, a little column B. It's pretty 50-50 with that.
I think it's so minor. I mean, like, just because my favorite board game is going to make a video game, I don't get upset and say, like, oh no, it should only be a board game and any change is bad. I think this is just such a small issue that you shouldn't get worked up about it. I mean, like, it's really a small aspect of the game. Like, I understand, like, it's going to ruin your immersion and stuff like that, but do you really play MMOs right now for immersion? You should just wait till they come out with, you know, Elder Scrolls single player or whatever, if it's that a big a deal. It's a different game. It's a different beast. You know, if we had a magic fairy and we can make wishes, then sure, but...
I agree that it is one thing. The hands are one thing. But the pickpocket... The pickpocket? The pickpocket. The pickpocketing is another thing. The marriage is another thing. And the list of things that's going to keep growing before the game comes out, who knows how long that's going to be before it comes.
That's what I'm mainly worried about. Future list.
It is one thing, but all those things together, it can make it so it's just another generic MMO with it'll be some elements of the Elder Scrolls questing from the single player games, with the reticule of Terra, with the combat style, the responsive combat from a little bit of Age of Conan. It's just going to be a potpourri of any type of MMO, but it's just not going to really be distinguishable if they keep removing the things that is its namesake.
All right, so on that topic of pickpocketing, let's jump to that. But before we jump to that, I want to issue a challenge to everybody that plays MMOs. I want you to play the MMO of your choice, whatever MMO it is. I want you to go into a raid and into PvP and into PvE, just standard mob fighting. First person for 1 hour. Let me know if you can do it. I really want people to try this. Because you gotta remember, it's an MMO. There's so much stuff that happens around you. And you're so accustomed to playing an MMO in third person. Like, I mean, not many people play MMOs in first person. So I want to issue that challenge to everybody that's watching. Go and play the game in first person. Let me know, 1, if it's fun, 2, if you find it a little bit more immersible, and 3, if you can actually do it.
Can I play League of Legends all the way zoomed in because I don't play an M? Dang it! All right, I'm screwed.
I rated Alduar and Nax Ramus first person while healing,
No, you
and
didn't.
I found it way more immersive.
I bet you were a terrible raider.
I was the top healer in my guild. Thank you.
But in all honesty, I know we'll joke about it. I would love to see people try this. I mean, it sounds stupid, but I think it'll pop people a different perspective of how to play an MMO in first person. I mean, it's next to impossible. And I firmly believe that. But if somebody can prove me wrong, I would love to see it. I would love to be proved wrong.
I did a little bit of research, and as of 7/31/2012, Skyrim has sold 1 million copies of its game.
Skyrim?
Skyrim in itself, yes.
Nice. Now that's excluding all the people that downloaded it illegally.
Yeah.
So let's talk about pickpocketing. Recently, well, by recently I mean about 3 or 4 weeks ago, Matt Faror on, I believe it was Guardian.co.uk, said there is no pickpocketing. I want to know, why do you guys think there's no pickpocketing? Like, why? Like, what aspect of that cannot be in the game? I'm avid for this feature, by the way. I'm not against this feature. I strongly think this feature should be in the game. One, because it shouldn't. There's no reason it can't be. I mean, it does play a factor into the game. It adds an extra little bit for it. It's not just graphical, and I mean, there's a lot they can do with it. So why do you guys think that lockpicking isn't in the game?
Because go ahead, Gooey.
Because you'd have to program and design each model and each animation for pickpocketing from each person. That'd just be way too much work.
All right, so I'll say something that's actually worthwhile. Like, pickpocketing in WoW, how completely stupid is it? I mean, yeah, they tied it in with the legendary rogue quest line, but it's so bad, it's not worth it to go around and pickpocket. And you know why it's not? Because if they made it so whenever you pickpocketed a mob, you got 10 gold or something worthwhile, some herbs or an item, it would be overpowered. Same thing's gonna happen in Elder Scrolls. Like, if I pickpocket a guy and he starts dropping, like, an actual meaningful amount of stuff, then it's gonna be screwed. And if you don't drop a meaningful amount of stuff, then it's gonna suck. Because no one's gonna want to do it. Like, yeah, I guess you could throw it in there for the lore guys, and I'm gonna pickpocket this guy for, 2.7 copper pieces that can buy me, a ham bone or something.
I got comments to that. Go ahead, Glenn.
But is it overpowered if everyone can do it?
Oh, damn you.
Then you have to just sit there poop socking and keep on farming and pickpocketing mobs over and over, and then it becomes even a whole nother beast.
So here's my question
the other
to you.
thing was, hold on, I want to say one other thing. The other thing is, if they would make the pickpocketing exactly like they did in the first player games, which I'm not saying they need to, but if they did, essentially when you pickpocketed an NPC, you had access to their inventory. Is almost the same as if when they were dead, minus their clothes and weapons and that stuff, because I think they might notice that. And I think something like that works. It gives you an alternate way to do quests, and I just think that's a cool idea if they run pickpocketing that way.
So you're gonna get XP for pickpocketing the mob? So why shouldn't I just go around to every mob and pickpocket them? No, like you need to kill them. So what's the point of pickpocketing?
Well, I mean, this is all depend on how they do compared to the first-person game. If they do XP like they did in the first-person games, in a sense it does give you XP because it raises your pickpocketing, which may be a major stat, and yada, 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 you know where I'm going from there.
Why would I ever want to kill a mob again then?
All right.
Why would I just go pickpocket a mob and, I'll be leveled, because
maybe
that'll
you'll
probably...
need his head,
All right,
and
let me
you can't pickpocket that.
Okay. Rapid, one, I'll agree. Pickpocketing WoW was completely stupid and served absolutely no point to the game. I mean, there's no reason for it. Two, World of Warcraft's version of pickpocketing was only for rogues, whereas ESO, it's for, and that's why I'm so for this, in ESO, it's for everybody. So they can make it viable. They can make it that if you pickpocket, not only are you going to steal this guy's coins, but maybe he's got a crafting item on him. That way you can use it for crafting.
Now you're forcing everyone to pickpocket,
No, you're
though.
not. It's an option to get it. Instead of going into the person's house and stealing the item or going out and farming it, you have another venue of obtaining that item. It makes it a viable option. You don't have to do it. You can get the item elsewhere, but hey, who knows? Maybe this little bugger here has something.
Well, that's a slippery slope to walk on as far as what Rapid was commenting on your reasoning, and it's something I feel the same way as you, Garb, but not everyone does. And what I mean by that is, and WoW suffers from this a lot, and this is where I'm coming from here, is people complain that they have to do things that they don't want to do. And then Blizzard will come back and say, no, you don't have to do that. You can achieve these goals by doing these other things. But the problem is people want to get things the fastest and the best way they can, so then they are going to feel like they have to do that. Now, granted, this is just based on your, crafting material example, but unfortunately I would actually, though I don't want to, I'd have to agree with Rapid, is that even though people can do it other ways, if they're going to be able to do it fastest by doing it other ways and by pickpocketing, they're going to feel like they have to do that, and they're going to QQ.
So what if they added pickpocket leveling as separate XP from your XP bar, like a profession in WoW or Switch or whatever MMO
You still
want
have
it
to do it. If you want to min-max, you still have to do it.
And
What if
people are
it's-
going to QQ.
But no matter
what if it's
what
just
you
a
put
side
into the
thing?
game,
It's just a bonus. It's not a requirement.
But that's the thing. Min-maxers don't view bonuses. They view everything as a requirement because they're min-max. Like I said, it's not something I agree with, and it's not something I like. I think people are crazy for it, but unfortunately it's something that the developers have to play with, and I think it's going to be something that's going to be hard to perfect or tweak.
you're going to have min-maxers no matter what features you're looking at. If it's min-maxers for leveling, if it's min-maxers for crafting, you're going to have that niche of people. But adding pickpocketing and saying they can't do it because it might be faster to get an item this way or to get an item that way, see, I don't see it, because it's like Guild Wars 2. It's faster to craft and level. It's actually easier to and faster to craft and level than it is to actually go out and do your quests. But people still go out and do their quests instead of crafting. Why? Because it's a different option. You don't have to go out and do quests, but you just have different options that you can do.
I don't know. If it ends up being something you can exploit, I'll exploit the shit out of it. I'm sure everybody who wants to min-max will. You know, if you're playing for in-game content, which I hope most people are, which is in-game PvE, dungeons, PvP, like if it offers an advantage there, then yeah, I'm gonna do it. If I can just go around to NPCs and get all their loot and stuff by just hitting pickpocket, you know, then yeah, I'm gonna do that. If they implement it in some weird way that I'm not thinking of that actually makes it good, then yeah, it'll be good, but I don't think it's possible, and I think that's why they said there would be no pickpocketing.
See, the reason I think it's not going to be in the game, they don't have a spot for it. You only have 6 buttons. If you have pickpocketing in the game, it has to be a button. There goes one of your abilities.
They could make a button somewhere.
They can. I'm not saying they can't. But
They have
I
a
honestly
potion
think
button.
that's why.
I mean, they have a potion button. Why wouldn't they make a pickpocket button? Silly.
I believe pickpocket should be in the game, but I believe it should be you have a more chance of getting caught and like having a fine or something against you, because you're gonna have to be basically doing it in the day when people are out, and you're basically, if you're not careful, you're gonna get caught. So they do combat it in a way, and it's not the best way, it's just a way.
I don't like Guy with Face. He made me look bad. Just saying.
He's a smart guy.
Yeah, interact button. That's what I was thinking. I just didn't want to say anything.
It's because you know better.
Yeah,
I
I do
don't
know
know.
better.
I really do trust the dev team on these decisions they're making. I think even though, passionate gamers may not see the reasons they're making these decisions, I think Matt Fryer's got it right. Like, I think he's making good decisions for the game because he's an experienced MMO developer. Like, he knows what's going to work. He knows what's not going to work. Have some faith.
I'll agree. I mean, I'm definitely not saying it's not a bad decision. I'm just saying I don't see why it shouldn't be in the game. I mean, it's a feature that I would like to see, just because it's another venue. Not because I'm an Elder Scrolls fan, but because it's a feature I want to see in an MMO.
Because I'm going to exploit the shit out of it. That's why he's not doing it.
But that's only if there's an option to exploit it. They can balance it out. I mean, there's ways to balance it.
Write me an essay on how they can balance it.
Just ban Rapid.
I mean, I'd be for that.
I am Legion. You cannot stop my disciples.
All right, so let's talk about marriages. I mean, this topic's probably going to fly by, and then we'll get to our shameless plugs. But marriages in games, I'm neither for nor against this topic. Mainly because, and I think the best person just joined the channel for this conversation. I've never played a game where I got the option to marry someone other than SOTOR, and that just felt like I got raped. So what do you guys think? You guys played Elder Scrolls Online. where there is NPC marriaging and stuff like that. What do you guys think about not having this in Elder Scrolls Online?
I wonder why they do it, because I don't think it would really make or break the game in either way. I just feel like that's something that they felt like wasn't a priority, which is interesting because when you look at how the fans from SWTOR viewed it, it was a huge mistake not to put it in. And in that, it was more, it was a huge mistake not to put same-sex relationships in.
It's
Go ahead.
With this, it's not like it hasn't been done in an MMO before. Star Wars Galaxies had marriage in the game. I mean, if a game that's that old can do that, there's no reason they can't implement that.
Well, in my opinion, I don't know how it was in Galaxies, but SWTOR had it easy. They had their predetermined companions that were essentially your personal NPCs that you could marry even though there was only one, and it was easy. I think as far as a lore aspect is concerned, I think they went the right way. I mean, unless you're going to allow marriage between characters, I don't think there should be marriage with NPCs in an MMO. I'm actually happy it didn't include it, because especially if you're RPing, what are you going to have, a domestic dispute if you and some random guy you meet have married the same NPC? How does that work?
Well, in Galaxies, they made it so you can marry other characters.
That would be fine. I think that would be, though some people would view it as weird because it is another person that you're marrying and it might cause some personal issues, but I think that would work a lot better than an NPC marriage system.
They actually had like marriages in Anarchy Online, which was cool. Like a GM would come out and you would have a ceremony and stuff. It was pretty funny.
I've seen some pretty serious marriages. One, World of Warcraft had a big one at the in-store one in the Cathedral. Dark Age had a big one, but they were all RPing stuff. And Guy with Face actually said probably the best thing. RPers are going to RP marriage anyways. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
True.
Now, Greg, you joined the channel just as I was talking about marriages. I would love to know your opinion of marriages in a game.
First of all, to just touch on the base of SWTOR for a brief moment, the reason that was such a fiasco is because BioWare has been for years of the opinion and triumphing, actually, like standing up for the fact that we're for the players, we're not specifically this way or that way, we want to be as inclusive as we possibly can. So when you've got that solid track record and everyone is almost expecting it to just be there without even asking for it, and it's not, it's a huge rupture in the trust that you have for a company that's been paving the way, so to speak, for this whole thing. And to also touch on the basis for Glan and the whole idea of, well, I've married this person, but then so have you. That's kind of like the heroes as far as, well, we killed the boss. No, we killed the boss. There's got to be a certain sense of suspension of disbelief when you've got such a vast population playing the same game, playing the same storyline, and accomplishing the same deeds as far as that goes. So marriage is just an extension of immersing your characters, in my opinion, in a very full storyline, which includes all aspects of their life. You get to a certain point where you've accomplished the hero's deed, and what's the hero's reward? Well, to settle down and to have a relationship and to make a legacy for himself. And I think Star Wars kind of tried to patch that up by creating the legacy thing and to allow you to be able to create your family trees, same sex, however you wanted it to be, you could do whatever you wanted it to be. And that was really, in my opinion, a band-aid solution to something that, whether or not it was by their choice or by LucasArts sort of strong-arming them into it, they were forced to cut the branch off of a tree that's been growing for a long, long time. Is it vital to gameplay? No, definitely not. Does it break gameplay? No, not at all. Does it give characters a much more satisfying, much more immersive, much more, this is my story and this is what I've done? Absolutely. And I think you should have the option for it. I think that should just be in every single game, that if you want to pursue a relationship, if you want to pursue something that equals marriage, if you want to deepen the backstory of your character by these things, then I think a good game company is going to want to tell a complete story, and I think that's part of a complete story, in my opinion.
So, are you for or against marriages in games?
I'm for them. I'm for the option of them.
Okay.
I don't think you should be roller coasted railed into this is where your story is going. I was quite offended by the fact that I had no choice in the relationship with one of my characters for my Jedi. I was railroaded into specifically going in a direction, no matter what choice I chose, into that end story, and I was quite offended by that. Like anyone would be if you were railroaded into doing a storyline that you didn't want to do, same-sex, non-sex, otherwise.
Yeah.
The option should be there. You should not be forced to go in a direction that you don't want to go to, but there should be a variety of options because that is complete and, in my opinion, in-depth, complex storytelling, which in today's damn world of especially MMOs, I mean, if you're going to tell a quality story, you should have multiple options of how those stories are going to go, because that's what your fan base is going to want. That's what's going to excite them. That's what's going to interest them. That's what's going to give them that sort of, extra bit to their story.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, when it comes to tying an MMO, which is a fantasy-based game, role-playing game, you should have multiple venues of options that you can go down, just as you would in real life. What do you say, Rapid? Are you for or against marriages? Do you want to frolic with an NPC?
I don't know. I really don't mind. I mean, like you said, there's that one reason, like, you got a million people all married to Lydia or whatever.
Whoa.
But, I mean, like you said, you have to suspend disbelief in that aspect, so I don't care.
I don't want to talk about her.
I don't care one way or another, It's a nice little aspect of the game. If they include it in the game, like, great, I probably won't do it. If they don't, then I don't really care.
What about you, Gooey, who's kind of staring at me like he wants to eat my soul? Apparently not there.
Sorry.
Oh, there he is.
I'm indifferent. I mean, if it's something you want, then you should be able to do it. It's not going to make or break a game. I've seen where it's added to a game, and I've seen where it's taken away from a game. But I mean, I don't know if it's. I'm not really for or against it. If it would be something that would make other people happy and it's something that would really help in the immersion, then yeah, I'd be for it. But it's not something that I don't know if it's gonna. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know really what to say.
So, what about you, Almers? Get you to pipe in here. What do you think about marriages?
Honestly, I don't really care if they're in or out of the game, but in Skyrim, I know the only reason why I married was because there was an achievement for it, and also I was a little bit freaked out by the fact that, okay, I'm going to marry like one of 20 marriageable females, and how many other millions of people have married this person? And then in MMO, it's just worse because you're all playing on the exact same server. Because of the mega server, basically the same server people. On the mega server, so how many different other people in that server is your NPC that you're married to other people?
I agree. I mean, it's going to be interesting if they ever do put marriages in the game in the future. Trying to tie it into who gets who and kind of thing. Glendick, I think you brought it up a long time ago in one of the earlier versions of Elder Scrolls Uncovered, where we talked about marriages and how if you marry somebody specific and someone else marries them, because it's phased, they just return to your house, and they return to the other person's house as well. So I think you touched that a while ago. So in short, let's go through everybody. The main question of tonight was, does the missing features of Elder Scrolls Online remove the Elder Scrolls aspect of it? So let's start with Gooey. Do you think the missing features take away the Elder Scrolls aspect?
Yes. I don't think there's really a doubt of it.
Okay.
I agree.
What about you, Gooey? Or Rapid, sorry.
No, I don't think so. And I'll even go a step further and say if they included all of those, quote unquote features that, Elder Scrolls games can't be without, I think they would end up with a product that lasted 6 months and then went free to play. Became another like Star Wars fail.
Well, I mean, the features we're talking about is hard to say as whether it would make or break. Like hands are pickpocketing. They're not gonna
I mean,
affect the game that much.
there's a lot more features that I guess purists are arguing for than just those.
Yeah, like I don't think any of the features we brought up today are game-breaking features. But I mean, in some aspects, I mean, a lot of people are pretty passionate about the hands. I sent an invite out to Shoddycast, who I think are by far the most nerd ragey people on this topic, and I would love to have had them on the show just to see what they said. Because I mean, like I said, they're more passionate than GUI. It would have been very interesting to see them nerd rage with us. But like I said, I don't think there's any game-breaking features. Obviously, it's more heartfelt and heartbroken about the feature not being there. Except for GUI, who said he's not playing if they say no.
I will only if they take out a bunch more things and then treat it like it's nothing.
What about you, Altair? You haven't said much. Does the missing features of Elder Scrolls Online take away ES?
The ones that we've talked about don't take away from the game. It's still going to be Elder Scrolls, as there's so many other features that they're going to have in the game. It's still going to have the Elder Scrolls feel. The graphics are going to play the same. The animations are going to play sort of the same. So, no, I would say that the ones we've discussed don't take away that Elder Scrolls feel, though I would love to see those features in there, but it doesn't make or break the game for me. I'm still going to play it, but if they were to take out the majority of the features just because they don't think it fits into an MMO, that might deter me from playing the game.
Just, I just want to comment here. B was here. I'm not saying Shoddycast are bad people. I'm just saying their one video, they were pretty nerd ragey about it. And because of that, they're passionate. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And that's why I wanted them on the show. I wanted them to talk about it. Glenn, what do you think? Do you think the missing features take away the Elder Scrolls aspect?
Marriage, no. Hands, it sounds so weird saying the hands take away from the aspect, but the hands and the pitbocking are a big annoyance to me. But the marriage, meh. But the other, we'll have to see other features. I mean, they're still not huge things as far as the Elder Scrolls name and feel good.
What about you, Almers?
It's going to be an annoyance for me, but do I think it takes really the Elder Scrolls feel of the game? Absolutely not. I rarely pickpocket in any Elder Scrolls game. I didn't really find much use of it. Even though I was a stealth character, I'd break into everyone's house. I could pickpocket all the time I wanted because everyone was sleeping and I was a vampire. I had to always go in at dark. But I honestly never did it except to get the achievement in Skyrim. And I think I only did it a few times in Oblivion. Marriage, I didn't care for, only for the achievement, like I said before. Hands, I feel a little bit more passionate about that they took it away, all because in the previous Elder Scrolls titles, like I've said, I have never really been able to judge distance of me shooting my arrow without my hands, because I can't tell from where I'm exactly standing to where they're at.
Yeah, I agree. Just to comment again on B was here. I've sent invites to all of them. No one's replied, sadly. I would love to have a spot for them if anybody knows them and they can, nudge them a little bit. I would love to get any one of those guys on the show. It'd be great. I think we've covered everything this week. I'm going to open up the floor for some shameless plugs. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's been a great discussion. I also want to thank our supporter, theshadowmare.com. It's a fan website. If anybody hasn't heard of it, head on over there. They got forums, they got live chat, pretty much everything you need for a fan site. And currently, they are the #1 ESO fan site for members. They have over 5,000 members. On top of that, they're also holding a contest for a free copy of the new DLC, Dragonborn, I think it's what it's called. I'm gonna get slapped for that one if that's wrong. And Also, with that contest, they're going to be giving away a free item from their store. So all you got to do is go over, make a comment as to what you want, get some free shit. Free shit's good shit. So let's open up the Shameless Plugs to Rapid.
All right. I'm Rapid. I'm the guild leader of a guild called Midnight Reveries. We've been around for a long time. We are a hardcore PvE and mass PvP guild. Myself and several of our 60 members all boast WoW rankings in like the top 5 US, and some of them even higher than that currently. So if you would like to get in on the in-game in Tessa, we're hoping it's going to be good. I'll give you the link right there. And also, no one's seen this, not even any of my members, but I have a link to the new website layout that we're going to get. And I will link that in chat too. So we're kind of moving on up, and hope you guys enjoy. And thanks for having me on the show, Garbrac.
Oh, no problem, man. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it. Anybody else have any shameless plugs they want to pop in there?
I'll do one for Clarion Call Gaming Community. We are the ones who host this wonderful podcast. We are a community of You're a community of people, not gamers. We treasure and value our friendships and our relationships with each other more than we try to do anything else. We hold to that very strongly, and I'm repeating myself a lot here. We are currently raiding in Mogushon Vaults in World of Warcraft. We are looking to expand into the Elder Scrolls Online when it comes out. We are also in PlanetSide 2. We might have an MLG offensive combat team soon. Garb and I might be heading that up, owning everyone's face, including Rapids, even with his one-shot noob cannon. And we would love to hear from you guys. If someone could post a link in the chat for me. I'm currently in game right now, so I can't alt-tab and post. But I would appreciate that. ccguild.ca. Looking forward to hearing from you guys.
I just want to jump in. I have one more shameless plug to mention. Myself and Altair will be attending PAX this year, so we'll be doing a live stream Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday night, where we'll be discussing everything we saw. We'll also be trying to do some live streams from the event. So if you guys want to know what's going on or anything like that, hit us up on Twitter. I'll be tweeting everything I can possibly tweet, taking pictures of everything I can, taking pictures of cosplay, because you know hot women in cosplay is always something good to look at. Yeah, so like I said, hit us up on Twitter. We'll be tweeting constantly, live streaming constantly. Thursday night, before the event, I'll be streaming. We're going to try to get a big list of questions that you guys want answered, and we'll try to get some interviews with some devs and seeing what we can get. Also, if you do want to donate and help us get some more swag, there is a donate link. I'll toss it in the chat. If you want to donate a couple bucks, definitely help us out. After the event, I'll have a huge bag of swag, and I'll be giving away all that swag to the followers of on Elder Scrolls Uncovered.
To add to Garb's shameless plugs about PAX East, not only will we be streaming every night back at the hotel and trying to get interviews with developers and whoever else is there at PAX, we will also be recording all types of videos and taking pictures and have them posted on both the website, YouTube, and whatnot. You'll pretty much see everything that we see all day long, and as we get closer to PAX here, I will post a forum chat on our website in the public forums, that if anybody has any questions or anything they want to see at PAX, to go ahead and put it there, and we will do our best to ensure we accommodate everybody and get everything that everybody requests for if it's in our reach. So like you said, follow us on Twitter, hit us up on Facebook, follow us on the website, and we'll do what we can for you while we're at PAX East this month, now that it's March.
Yeah, I know. Less than 20 days, man. Less than 20 days, and we will be at PAX, lubing up Matt Firo's feet.
Are you gonna get free food from them?
I doubt it'll be free food, but I'll be at that food truck filling up on sweet rolls.
I'll be
And
getting
goat
free food.
milk, cheese rolls and stuff like that for Rapid.
All my food will be free.
Yeah, your food will be free. Go hell. I have no issues about that, man. No issues. Anybody else have any shameless plugs they want to follow in there? Almost, you got anything?
Nah, I'm good. I might plug something in, but I'm not sure how well that would go over for me, so I'm just gonna keep my mouth quiet.
Alrighty then. Well, like I said, I want to thank everybody for coming out. I mean, it was a great show. Tune in next week. We have 2 more episodes to go before we hit up PAX. So yeah, that's everything. It's been a great show. So now with all this extra time, what do you guys want to do?
Garbrac,
Homework.
oh god, don't say that word to me. It's right here on their official post. If you happen to be in the States, meet us at one of 11 stops for free food, giveaways, and more.
Okay, maybe I will have free food. Oh, and I also want to apologize to everybody that we started late. It was my fault. I should have had everything set up beforehand. I didn't think the update to XSplit would have really messed the whole setup up. So, again, I apologize for that.
That was intense.